Guys, the week I have been having. You will not believe this week I have been having. Jeez. Jiminy Christmas. Good grief, I haven't seen you all since Tuesday. Tuesday was a late stream. Today's stream is all off. Good grief. Good grief. Anyway, what's up? Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. We are here now. It is time. Hello, hello, hello. Dark Canuck points out that you should not forget to like the stream. We're very close to a parody. We've got there's 20 viewers and 17 likes. We're so close. So anyway, hopefully you all are having a good day. Let me get all my chats ready and beautiful and set up and lovely. Everything's wonderful. Hello. Did you get caught in the time loop too? Yes, true. What's up, mama? Hello, Baphomet. Oh, you called my leftist audio? No, no lefty audio today. We didn't have any random power outages. This week has sucked absolute donkey. Yeah. Are you having issues with your younglings, Max? Because I know that's what my fucking problem is this week. Hello, Mersh. What's up? It's been hard to quit a bad habit of mine. I need the adrenaline to get through the day. Oh, I hope that you are able to find some kind of equilibrium on that. But what's up, people in the YouTube chat as well? There's Ursa. We got Toilgeck. What's up? My problem is that universities are arcane institutions that hate people. True. We're gonna have problems. I have, a couple actual chunky big flies in here, as opposed to, the fungus gnats, which are just, a persistent summertime issue. And so now I got, a couple of actual big chunky flies, and I don't have a fly swatter. So, we just have, even more bullshit to deal with than usual. Do you like corn? Interestingly, I don't really eat corn very often, because I feel like high fructose corn syrup is in everything, so I kind of feel like I don't need to go out of my way to eat corn. Does that make sense? Calling them younglings makes me fearful of a certain angsty boy with a blue laser sword. That's funny. I wasn't really thinking about it in that context. I think of, when I say younglings, I'm thinking of dragons, and, the way that dragons would speak about their children. A hatchling or a youngling, I think is how they would say it. Actual corn is healthy. Corn syrup, not so much. I mean, fair. Yeah, we missed on Thursday. I went swimming on Thursday. That was what I was doing instead of streaming. When I posted on the Discord server that I was going to spend a fun evening with my younger sibling. We went swimming, and it was lovely. I forgot how much swimming is, cardio. Oh my god, my fucking light is too close to me. God. Ugh. I swear. I loathe having house guests. Okay, now my light is at appropriate distance from my face and my exposure isn't blown out completely. Good grief. Yeah, corn is not very nutritious amongst other grains. It's very sugary, and I'm gonna just, eat other stuff, but I enjoy swimming, but all of my friends are also trans and are way too anxious to come swimming with me. Oh. Yeah, I have, I guess I just have less anxiety about it. Next summer when I have my trans brother with me also, I'm sure that, he might be a little bit more resistant to going swimming because of dysphoria-related reasons. Understandable. My dicks ran out. Oh, yeah. No worries, everybody. Every pool should have some queer swimming days or something. Yeah, I mean, honestly, pools should just have trans-only days where no sissies are allowed. And I'm also, not really keen to go to a pool where there are very many people. So, I'm going to the pool on an overcast day, during the week, if possible, right? During the day when it's overcast and, there's a risk of rain, maybe. Natural selection will get the trans people who are too scared to swim. On account of the globe be warming. That's true. I mean, the water itself is pretty warm. Public pools are gross. Yeah. It's true. They can be pretty gross. I know. I'm dropping slurs. I'm bad. I'm so bad. Bad. Is so because of the fact that I also have been like, I've had very little downtime this week to just peruse the news. Is there like news this week that I should know about? Aside, like the last stream that we did, we went in depth on those, on the committee meeting where Chloe Cole spoke and all that. I think that like we got like a couple of wins. Like there was a 7th Circuit bathroom bill related win. New Trump indictments. Public pools don't have fish and birds pooping in them, unlike the ocean or a lake. True. At least there's a bunch of chemicals meant to clarify the water, you know? Like, there's a bunch of chlorine. But it's so bad for your skin. You look healthier and happier every time I see you, Lux. I'm very glad for you. That's surprising because today I am hungover. I was not feeling my best yesterday. I went and, you know, drank a little bit when I came home from dropping off the child. And this morning I woke up filled with regrets. But that's why we have a 64-ounce bottle of water. My skin hates salt water much more than chlorine for some reasons. I mean, it makes sense because the salt, like, is drawing water out of your cells. But I don't have any salt water near me. I don't ever go to a saltwater location. Hundreds and hundreds of miles. Kenneth says, now I will lead the chat in prayer. True. Stop drinking, Lux. Allah commands it. No, I will continue. I'm actually not really that keen on drinking most of the time anymore. Frankly, it's like one of the things that I'm doing is I'm getting healthier, and I'm gonna force everybody to get healthier with me. And so one of the things that I'm gonna tell you is, if you feel like shit all the time, and if your skin looks bad, and you're drinking alcohol on a regular basis, you should consider stopping or like cutting back on it dramatically. Part of the reason why I'm hungover is because I haven't been drinking very much, very often, you know? What's up, Venusian? Welcome in. Y'all who are just coming in, hit the like button if you haven't hit the like button already, you know? This is mostly going to be like a low-key stream. I don't have any particular political news that I'm interested in talking about today. So, you know, this is a chill stream. It's true. Can confirm. Lux has forced me to exercise, and now I have these amazingly toned legs against my will. Sad. I realized, you know, a couple of times y'all have... So I flex as the stream goal. You can't see them. Man, wow. Ooh, actually, my arms are getting bigger. Really? I mean, yeah, I've been back at the gym for a few weeks now. It would make sense. But I was like, Mama has suggested, like, flexing the legs. And I was like, how can I do that? Because I don't really have a good setup for it, but maybe that's something I need to think about with my new setup whenever I'm moved next time, is like maybe I should be able to like step back here, like stand on something, and then like show off the leggies. Ugh. Who's Mama? In the chat, Mama Mephistopheles, the chat on screen. Lux was actually one of my name options when I started my transition. Nice! It is a cool name. It's good. I saw Ghost and Amon Amarth live night before last, and I had alcohol for the first time in weeks and felt really sick. Was worth it though. Yeah, as long as you kept yourself safe, then you're all good. Flex the glutes while you sit. Yeah, just make myself taller and shorter and taller and shorter and taller and shorter by flexing the glutes. You can try all you want, but you can't make me live healthier. I mean, it's your decision. I'm just gonna tell you what the facts are. And be a living demonstrable proof. Y'all think that my skin looks good. Well, girl, let me tell you, it's called hydrating. Oh, Kitty points out something interesting. I lived in Arizona for 20 plus years, and I currently have more trouble hydrating on the West Coast than in the Arizona Valley due to the content of salt in the air from the ocean. Also, the moisture in the air tricks you. Yeah, tricks you into thinking. I mentioned in the Discord that I'm getting healthy, but only in order to do wacky things when I'm old. Absolutely. Bless your heart, I drink 2 to 3 gallons a day. I don't actually know how much I drink in a day, because I refill this whenever I need to, periodically. There was definitely one day last week that I drank like at least 2 full ones of these, and they're 64 ounces, which is like 2 liters. Yeah, I think that this is a 2 liter. And a liter is like a little bit less than a gallon, right? So there have been some days where I've drank 4 liters of water. You can't trick me into thinking. I would never do such a thing. Here's what I look forward to. Okay, I was just thinking about the direction of this channel recently. Okay, hit like if you love my channel and you want it to stick around, okay? Different permutations of what this channel could like be and like look like over the course of years. You know, right now, I'm very focused on this 1 liter is about a quarter gallon. Really? A liter is only equivalent to a quart? That doesn't seem right. Circa. Well, sure. But, like, a quart seems so small. A liter is a little more than a quart. Okay. Okay. I guess that kind of makes sense. I just feel like this is a giant container of water. And I guzzle down at least one of these a day. Anyway, so permutations of this channel and like what is it going to look like in the future? You know, right now we're very focused on the fascism and stuff, right? But I don't know that that's always going to be the case. Like, you know, with my day-to-day life, I'm like not focusing on that stuff as much. Like I haven't been on Twitter because Twitter sucks now and I don't want to be there, so I just am spending less time there, right? And I am gonna be like a full-time like parent / teacher in a few months, and like I just am trying to focus on those positives, and like we're gonna be moving to Washington and I'm gonna be trying to like be more of a nature person and more of like a health person. So it's like, does it make sense? Does it make sense long term for my content to stay what it is right now, you know? Yeah, ideally channels that cover fascism will be out of a job one day. Yeah. So I'm kind of like thinking ahead a little bit about what, you know, sort of future permutations of my content could be like. And I guess like, yeah, someone said it earlier, healthcare, like health influencer, health lifestyle influencer. What did you say? I don't know if I'll be able to find it. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be able to find what you said earlier. But yeah, like, I guess that's the thing, like, positivity influencer, positivity poster, still political, like, how to live life as a trans person well. Like, here's an example of, like, a trans person with a family who is, like, able to live well and be successful despite all of the fascism stuff, you know? I don't know. Fascism will get worse before it dies down. Republicans are clinging to power. It'll be years. Oh, sure. Yeah, of course it's going to be years. Yeah. But I mean, do I even want that to be my main deal for the duration of time that fascism will be a thing, you know? Like, I'm sure I just will feel morally compelled to keep talking about it. But I just want, I guess, maybe to expand. Yeah, lifestyle positivity influencer. That's it, Venusian. That's what I want to be. And pause for effect. Okay, let me put this away, actually. Yeah, my morning this morning consisted of, like, I woke up, my alarms started to go off. You know, my alarms started to go off. I got out of bed. I went to the bathroom, and then I grabbed my bottle, and I filled it up, but only, like, halfway, because I wasn't trying to wait for it to fill up all the way, and then I just, like, spent the next hour and a half in bed, periodically leaning over the side of my bed to go... Delicious. Waitress, actor, supermodel, superstar. Poggers. True. Be careful in the woods and look out for the bears. Of course. Yeah. I mean, we don't have bears in Kansas. I'm sure there will be some bear and mountain lion concerns when we live in Washington. Most likely. Yes, thriving despite the threats. That's what we are hoping to achieve at some point. So... yeah, but today, you know, I'm just like, I'm not really feeling the political analysis. A lot of the time, I'm not feeling the political analysis. Maybe gaming stuff is going to happen more often. The bears are okay. I get lots of compliments on my beard. True. I started dating an NB person whose name is literally Bears, so I'll never be able to avoid them. What a choice. Bears, plural. Bears. The person's name is not Bear. Bears. Baldur's Gate 3 on stream when? I've never played a Baldur's Gate game. I feel like I would struggle, but that's like an enjoyable subcategory of Let's Play, right? Yes, Ursa means bear. We have an Ursa in the YouTube chat. Max. What? Oh, okay, so apparently Baldur's Gate 3 is desirable for stream because you can have sex with a druid in bear form. Is the bear the top or the bottom? Alright. Oh, Baphomet. Wasn't that in The Revenant? Yeah, that's why Leo finally got his Oscar or whatever, right? He fucked a bear. Uh oh, we spoiled something for Baphomet. Rip, rip, rip. The water in the air collected more moisture in your lungs before leaving again. Warm, moist air pulls more water than hot, dry air because of how much it gets cooled on the way in and is already dry. When it dries out your mouth, you're encouraged to take a sip of water. So people in dry climates tend to sip water constantly through the day. Moist air keeps your mouth wet, so you have less desire to sip at your water. Oh, okay, interesting. These are the important questions, Venusian. Yes, clip it. Is the bear the top or the bottom? I can't wait until I'm famous enough for people to clip me maliciously out of context. That's gonna be very funny. I can't wait. It'll be lovely. Unless, only if it's other leftists, though. If right-wingers are clipping me out of context, that's not cool. That's not cool, guys. Don't do that. If other leftists who hate me are clipping me out of context, though, I think that would be very, very funny. Yeah, Essence of Thought out here making Lux's dreams come true. Yeah, she's not gonna spend the time to comb through my content. I don't think. Unless someone else clips it for her. I truly don't think that she is gonna do a thorough enough job by, like, going over my content. Yeah, that was me criticizing her as a YouTuber. She's not thorough enough. I made the mistake of watching the main drama video she made the other day. Wait, she made it- wait. Was I featured? Are you bringing it up because I was featured, or are you just bringing it up because Essence of Thought has posted a video? I created that out-of-context channel on the Discord. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. Oh, no, you're talking about the 2-year-old one. But you watched it the other day. Okay, I thought that we were talking about new content. I was about to be like, oh my god, rent-free. Yeah, I don't know what she's up to lately. Sometimes I get curious, because, you know, Essence of Thought's channel for a long time was, like, roughly the same size as mine. So every once in a while I go check, because I'm just kind of curious how she's doing. Yeah, her channel is right... Okay, so she has 40.9k. I'm really kind of surprised that she's really had much growth over the last couple years. I'm kind of surprised. I was for a while, I was kind of looking forward to catching up to her, but... I don't know, I'm like... I would be happy if my channel got to 50k ever, and we'll see. We'll see how that goes. Quick plants update. My carnivores are doing fantastic. Lots of new growth and they are eating well. Kiln is drying really nicely. Can't wait to fire it up. Hell yeah! I am doing okay with my plants. Most of them are doing okay. I thought EOT was they, them. I thought that it was she/they or they/she. But I, don't really care that much. If we're being honest. They're gender fluid, I thought. So for a while it was like, they, she. Just slip Contra a 20 to name drop you again. Truly. Just like, hey, Natalie. Can you just mention me in your video again? That would be great. We have fun. We have fun. I should do more work. I should do more collabs. I know this. I'm aware. I'm fully aware. Or I should just be more controversial more often. That's another thing that people do to boost their careers. I just, you know, if only I were willing to say inflammatory shit that I don't believe for the sake of earning, like, getting more attention. Rip in pieces. Transatlantic Call-In Show was great when you were on. Yeah, I keep, Jimmy keeps asking me if I'll play a video game with him, and I just happen to be very fucking busy, like, every time he asks me, so I don't want to get in touch with him and be like, hey, can I be on your show again, until maybe I do actually successfully have a time lined up that I can play a game. Because he is my actual human friend, you know? You can reach many different audiences with drama or call-out content, and people generally like that kind of thing when it comes to a creator or media property that they have an interest in. Good way to grow a channel, honestly, to some extent. Does this mean that I need to start, like, paying attention to content as it comes out? Do I need to become one of those channels that's like, Star Wars Andor, like, here's all the politics of The Last of Us. Like, do I need to start... Maybe media takes are a thing. Maybe I do have to stop being such a fucking curmudgeon. What's up, Corpse Candy? Hello. Human friends are good. Yeah, my human friends. I realize I talked like a... Just remember, no complimenting Jimmy. Is that... Did Go Fuck You Jimmy... Did Go Fuck Yourself Jimmy start with, like, him being awkward about receiving compliments? Because I kind of don't like the Go Fuck Yourself Jimmy meme. I have no context for why that is the way that it is. And then I just join the Transatlantic Call-In Show and people are like, go fuck yourself, Jimmy. And I'm like, all right, I don't really find this fun. I can't grow any plants because my cat eats them all. Ugh, yeah. You gotta hang the plants to get them out of the way or, like, put them on a shelf or something. I have a nice big shelf. He's the one who wants it that way. Okay, fair enough. He is very awkward in a very endearing way, but I also don't like the go fuck yourself Jimmy thing. Yeah. I'm like, that's my friend, you know? I'm like, calm down, y'all. Jimmy wasn't even there the second time I was on the Transatlantic Call-In Show. It was just me and, Arden was producing. Why nerd culture has always been, quote, woke would be a good video. I don't know that nerd culture has always been, quote, woke. I mean, if you remember, like, The Revenge of the Nerds, right? Like, that is obviously a film, so it's not, like, a totally accurate representation, but, like, I think that, like, nerd culture originally was very, like, misogynistic and toxic. It was, like, a bunch of, like, nerd culture started as being, like, really basically just, like, males who were failing at being male, like, inadequacy. I think nerd spaces have always been split between very normative and very weird and queer. I guess that's fair. Yeah. The old D&D stuff giving men and women different stats, Lord of the Rings having no female characters, etc. I mean, that's true, too. Big Bang Theory, nerd show, very sexist. I mean, yes, but also, like, my dad was one of those people who was, like, labeled a nerd before it became cool. And so, like, it's not just Revenge of the Nerds that I'm evoking. I'm, like, evoking that as, like, yes, it is a parody stereotype. But also, yeah, like, the original nerd culture, as it is understood in that way, was, like, basically a bunch... Yeah, and Gamergate, that's a bunch of nerds. There is, like, two different subcultures, yeah, of nerdiness, I would say. Because you do have, like, the queer Star Trek nerds. Like, you have furries who are all fucking computer nerds, basically. Like, I do agree with the point that, like, yes, X-Men has always been progressive, but, like, that's not all of nerd culture. You can say, broadly speaking, Marvel comics have been woke the entire time. You know, the entire concept of, like, Captain America is, like, anti-Nazi, you know? The whole concept of the X-Men is, like, was it originally, like, a racial allegory? Is the central unifying factor countercultural ostracism? Like, I guess that's part of it. Like, yeah, but you get alienated for two different reasons. Like, the alienation and ostracization that, like, cis-het men experience is quite different to the experiences of, like, you know, people of color and queer folks. X-Men was a race allegory, and George Romero had anti-racism. Right. Ursula Le Guin versus, like, 1950s pulp sci-fi, yeah. Yeah, so I'm gonna start teeing up the Philosophy Tube video, because it's like 50 minutes long or so, and it'll probably take us a little while to get through it. And Legal is in it, so that's always exciting. We love Legal. Devin. His name is Devin. I finally know his name. For the longest time, I kept getting confused and thinking, like, is it Derek? No, it's Devin. With an I think. Devin with an I. I'm not totally sure. Because sometimes he's in videos and people don't even, like, introduce him by name. They just say this guy is Legal. There's a furry YouTuber who went to FurCon and asked everyone what they do for a living. Most of them are engineers, and I'm just sitting here on my computer art degree, scared to progress because of the way art is changing now. True. Sag. The problem with finding what's woke is that right-wingers have gotten far less tolerant in recent years. Something could have progressive elements, but also have the traits Gamergaters enjoyed, and it wouldn't have been a conflict at the time it came out. Right. I mean, you know, we have the classic example of Mrs. Doubtfire, which was not controversial in its time. Magneto was supposed to be like Malcolm X, while Dr. Xavier was Martin Luther King. That makes sense. How can we stop the woke, Dank Catlord asks. I mean, we have to band together. We have to band together because there's these roving gangs of wokers. The roving gangs of wokers. IDK about you, but I sure wasn't allowed to watch Mrs. Doubtfire as a kid. Sure, and my grandma pissed her pants over me reading fucking Harry Potter, right? But, like, you know, that's not really the same as something being, like, on a societal scale, a lot of people thought that this was grooming, or, like, a lot of people thought that this was inappropriate, you know? The Wokenites. The only defense against the wokers is a good night's sleep. Sag. I had so many stress dreams last night. I, like, dreamt about my mom last night. I never dream about my mom. Anyhow. Is anybody here who has not yet hit like? Even if you're not going to stay and hang out with us, hit like before you leave. Beautiful. I sleep like trash every time I drink. Yeah. That's the worst. Like, I don't need to be thinking about this person. Yeah, it was just stress dreams. Like, I had a dream that, like, at one point in the dream was something to do with my mom, and then later in the dream, I was, like, dealing with my little sibling, and, like, you know, she can't swim. That's part of why we went to go swimming, is, like, because she can't. And I was like, well, I'm gonna try to teach you the basics of how to, like, tread water or whatever. And, so in the dream, it was something like we were on the ocean and she couldn't swim and she was trying to make me do something. And I was like, I am not a strong enough swimmer to like hold you up in this situation. Like I was getting frustrated with her because she was being argumentative. That was basically how my actual week went. So I was just like, fucking Christ, dude. It was not a good dream, to clarify. I was stressed out. I don't have good dreams with my mom in them. Like, the PTSD is very active right now, TBH. I'm like, oh, do you know that feel when you are in therapy and then you realize that you have an entire subcategory of issues that you had no idea that you had? Like, I was, TLDR, abused as a kid, physically, by my mom. But I never really thought about the fact that I was also expected to basically just take care of myself. So there was, like, also neglect, because I was just, like, left alone for large swaths of time, and I had to self-soothe, and I had to keep myself entertained. Like, my mom had other shit going on. She was working or she was dating, like, always busy. So I have, like, an entire... I just didn't... You know, it's not like, oh, that's not normal. It's just that, like, I have probably a lot of issues that I would have not realized were attributable to neglect, but that is like part of my story. And like, yeah, so when I get really upset about feeling like I need support and not feeling like I can ask for it, or not having relationships that are mutually beneficial, that other people are like supporting me as much as I'm supporting them, you know, like it just feels fucking terrible and is really triggering. Like, so no wonder I get really upset when I'm in a relationship or I'm in a dynamic where it feels like the other person, like I'm having to do a lot for the relationship and I'm not getting very much out of it. Like, of course, that makes sense. Does anyone playing Tears of the Kingdom know if I'm supposed to get the last 3 heart containers to equal 40 hearts from shrines? I have 2 Lights of Blessings too. I'm gonna guess that you can get them all from the shrines. Like, I am guessing that you should, well... I don't know, maybe it's gonna be like in the previous game, where you couldn't both max out the stamina wheel and the hearts? I'm not sure. I used to be a large, awkward, intense guy as a result of my PTSD, and it scared people. It's why I always pet pit bulls when I see them. I love pit bulls. They're so great. They're so wonderful. Little beans. Oh my gosh. So, yeah, I just have had it's been a rough week. I almost got myself like a really cute, you know, coffee milkshake this morning. And then I was like, I don't need to spend $10 on a delicious coffee milkshake. And then I got home and I had a phone call, and then so I didn't even make myself coffee today. So we're doing also a coffee-less stream. It reminds me of when my therapist asked if my dad hit me, and I said, only a few times, pretty normal. And she said the normal amount of times is 0. Yeah. I guess, like, you know, as a kid, if you are being abused, like, the time where you get left alone is, like, the positive time, you know? That's, like, a break from the abusive dynamic. So I guess that it's weird because it was preferable to being actively abused, but at the same time, it was also harmful in its own way. So, you know, I can, it's like hard to even recognize that it was a problem because it felt better to be alone. Like, and that's part of why I enjoy living alone so much. And it's like, you know, probably the only time that I'm gonna live alone until my husband dies. Like, so but that's probably not a good thing for me to be comfortable with. I loved my alone time as a kid. I used to wake up at like 3 or 4 a.m. on the weekends so I could play video games on the family computer without feeling like I'm under scrutiny. Yeah, I mean, I would do stuff like wake up super early so that I could walk to school and like wake up early enough and walk there early enough that I would be sitting at the school building to watch the sunrise, you know? Being alone can be a coping thing too, because you've learned to avoid the stress that comes with being with someone bad for you, and it's hard to tell your brain that not everyone will be like that person. I used to wake up at 3 a.m. and play under my bed because it was the safest time of the day. Damn, I didn't realize that this was such a, like... It's a, like, fairly prevalent thing that we sought alone time. What's up, Jade? Hello, welcome in. I love my alone time. Every morning is my time, me time, no one else to bother me. Then my elderly mom wakes up and I have to care for her for the day. And I very much enjoy the mornings. Right. So I will say at least one good thing about having my sister out this week, she, as frustrating as it was, right, was that it clarified for me that if I'm going to be living in a space with these teenagers, then I have to have like a secret cozy space, like in my bedroom or something, where I can close the door and get away from everybody. Because yeah, I just can't deal with like constant demands on my attention. Recovery closet, yeah, literally. Recovery closet is what the autistics call it. Yeah, like I have this like, you know, big chair behind me. And I think the big chair is going to go into the bedroom, and it's going to be... I don't have lights on today. I don't want to turn lights on. It's going to make it hot in here. Any other eldest siblings feel like they were a test run for the good/bad parenting skills? I don't think that I had that exactly, but... Yeah, having a weird upbringing... but being fairly well adjusted. High fives. Listen, high fives, everybody in chat. That's what we all want to be. We are all people who've had weird upbringings and life that is a little bit strange. We're just trying to get to a fairly well adjusted, place, and like getting the support. After getting on anti-anxiety meds and HRT, I love being a morning person. Sometimes I fuck it up and sleep at the wrong times, but when I can just get up in the morning and be comfy, I am a happy camper. I didn't realize that this could happen to me because I assumed that, like many ADHD people, I was just like, oh, I naturally wake up at a certain time, whatever. But no, like now that I have actively chosen to be a morning person, I fucking love being a morning person. It's so good. It feels incredible. What's up, Jade? Yeah, I mean, we're talking about a lot of random stuff, Jade. I'm, like, kind of farting around before we get into watching the Philosophy Tube video. But yes, I have decided that mornings are a perfect thing that we should do more of. So hit like if you're ready to start watching Philosophy Tube video, because that's probably what we're going to go ahead and do now. I haven't watched this one. I don't know what the deal is about it, but I'm looking forward to responding. I was raised as an only child. I was illegitimate and did not know it growing up. My parents got married after I was born. As a youngest sibling, my older siblings were schizophrenic, a literal genius, and autistic. My whole expectation was to be the normal one. Didn't quite work out. Yep. Well, let's watch El video. Let's do it. I'm sure that there will be plenty of asides that we'll take during the video. What's up, Hellhound? Welcome in. Thank you all so much for being here to chill.
Catch this video.
I need to be able to hear it through my headphones. Uh-oh. There it is.
Ad-free and uncensored only on Nebula.
Nebula.
It's a hell of a time to be a lawyer.
The US Supreme Court is embroiled in corruption scandals. The British government wants judges to ignore the European Court of Human Rights. 2 prime ministers and 1 home secretary broke the law whilst in office, and 1 former president has been indicted. It is a hell of a time to be a lawyer. Fortunately,
Thank you, Obsis. Unexpected $20 dono. Thank you so much. Stay rad. You stay rad. I can't wait to flex for you all later, because I think it's been a couple of weeks since I've flexed, and I have been working out in the meantime, so... Nice.
I am a hell of a lawyer. Hi, my name's Trixie Mephistopheles from the law firm Beelzebub and Jones. My services cost $500 an hour. And I'm also a lawyer. The law can do a lot of good, protect the vulnerable, give justice to the wronged. It can also do a lot of bad, intimidate, silence, bully, rob, destroy. As a demon, that's why I like it. But quite apart from the law's effects, there's also the question of what it is. If certain people can just ignore it, why have it there? In England and Wales, less than 2% of result in charges.
True.
And if that law goes unenforced 98% of the time, what even is the law?
So the title of the video is How Police Make Up the Law. So this is, yeah, she's playing me. Yes, she is playing Mama Mephistopheles today. I literally stopped myself from watching this because I was like, nah, Luck's gonna watch it on stream. We can do it together. We can do it together. Yes. So this is gonna be exciting. Selective enforcement, incidentally, is the exact problem with dog whistly laws surrounding gender. Oh yeah, I mean, you know, if you think about when sodomy was illegal, like, conceptually, like, oh, sodomy, you know, the act of doing an anal sex is illegal. It's not like anyone is policing straight couples who may be having anal sex. Like, it's only for the purpose of harming gay people, you know? What's up, Vicon Stark? Nice name. Hell yeah.
The question of what law is pretty important because it has an immediate bearing on whether we ought to obey it. For example, let's say the law is an expression of God's will. If God exists, it's a good idea to do what they say, or you could find yourself renting an apartment in hell, where the landlords are almost as bad as London. On the other hand...
I was looking at her rings too. Like, look at her claw fingers. Those are fucking rad. Those are very cool. I wish I was a ring person. I just don't like stuff on my hands very much. And I also got... My wedding ring is, like, got a lot of weird angles on it, because I just picked, like, a cheap ring. So, yeah.
If the law is made up on the spot by the powerful, then perhaps we have a reason to be naughty. Let's try a couple of theories, just to get warmed up. Let's say the law is an expression of morality. There's good and there's evil, and the law just writes it down. But there must be more to it than that, because sometimes the law can make us do things that are immoral. For example, racial segregation used to be enforced by law.
True.
And sometimes the law doesn't seem to have anything to do with morality whatsoever. For example, pirating academic textbooks. Illegal. Yes. Immoral. Well, you'd better hope not. Let's try again. Say the law is a prediction. If you do certain crimes, there will be certain consequences. But as we've already noted, often there are no consequences for breaking the law. In fact, most reported crimes go unsolved. If your employer or your landlord broke the law in their treatment of you, could you afford a lawyer to inflict consequences? Probably not. Definitely not if it's me. But the threat of consequences is usually enough to keep people in line. Let's try that then. The law is a command. This was the opinion of English philosopher John Austin. He said that laws are expressions of desire on the part of a sovereign, like a king or parliament, that people behave in certain ways. Those desires come to us in the form of a command backed up by a threat of force.
True.
Moreover,
I mean, basically.
Austin said that laws are general commands. Kneel down. Bend over. Put on these cat ears. Those are commands. They are expressions of desire.
Mommy, sorry. Mommy, sorry. Mommy, sorry. Mommy, sorry. The dead fucking eye contact. Like this, just the like the dead. She knows. Mommy. Okay. All right. All right. We gotta collect ourselves. Yeah, the smuggies though. The smuggies. All right. Let's. You know what? I just, for no reason in particular, I'm gonna take it back 10 seconds. Just for no reason in particular.
Kneel down. Bend over. Put on these cat ears. Those are commands. They are expressions of desire. And they are backed up by a threat of force. But they only apply to a specific person, time, and place. Laws, on the other hand, are general. They apply over a wide range of circumstances, people, and times.
Okay.
Laws or rules, properly so called, are a species of commands. A command is distinguished from other...
It's like you gotta make sure to keep their attention. You gotta make sure to keep the attention. Yes, Tormuz, you picked a heck of a time to arrive. Whew, okay.
significations of desire, not by the style in which the desire is signified, but by the power and the purpose of the party commanding to inflict an evil or pain in case the desire be disregarded. If you are able and willing to harm me in case I comply not with your wish, the expression of your wish amounts to a command, although you are prompted by a spirit of courtesy to utter it in the shape of a request.
That's true. I mean, this is like a fundamentally, like, this is the abusive dynamic, right? Like, you know, like, if you have, if you have a parent who tells you, like, hey, can you go wash the dishes? But you know from experience that your parent is, like, going to treat you not listening to them as, like, disobedience, and then they're gonna hit you for it, then you know that if they say, hey, can you please go wash the dishes, that isn't a request that you can say no to, or that you could even say, I'll do it in 20 minutes, you know? You just get up and do it because you understand that it is a command. And that's part of what bothers me about in the workplace too. This is just, like, I guess a pet peeve of mine. But when your boss says, do you wanna go do this thing? Like, no, I don't want to go do this thing, but if you ask me to, I will. But it's like they say, do you want to da-da-da-da-da as a stand-in for saying, hey, I'd like you to go do this, or hey, please go do this. You know, like, just if you're going to tell me to do something because you're in charge, then just tell me what to do instead of acting like it's a request that I have an option about.
Austin's theory has some problems, though, some of which we've already mentioned. What is international law under this framework? Not much of a threat of force backing that up, so is it not real law? If an army invaded your country and started giving general commands for the population backed up by a threat of force, would that count as valid law? Austin's theory is a classic, but it's remembered these days more for being a good try than actually making sense. Kind of like the fourth Indiana Jones film. Solid effort, but nobody's favorite. Perhaps we should be systematic, rather than stabbing in the dark. The philosopher Joseph Raz says there are broadly 3 approaches for trying to define law, and the first is to check the dictionary. So, according to the Encyclopedic Textbook of American Law, the law is defined as access to the Encyclopedic Textbook of American Law can be purchased for $400 an hour. Damn it! The second is to ask...
I knew she was doing it. I knew that was coming. Every time she makes that joke. Abby, I'm onto you. Every frickin' time. Yeah. Every time. It's called being voluntoid in military and paramilitary settings. Happens all the time in my workplace. Officers are often voluntold to do things. Oh, voluntold, not voluntoid. Yes, voluntold. It's a portmanteau of volunteering and being told to do something every freaking time. I love this choker that she's wearing also. It's gorgeous.
Lawyer. and I could do it myself. But I happen to know a human lawyer who owes me a favor. Once upon a time, I gave him 7 years of fame, fortune, and dashing good looks, and he gave me his soul. So please welcome Devon from the channel Legal Eagle. Oh, Devon!
Yes, Trixie, what is it?
What is the law?
This isn't even legal advice. There is no accepted definition of what the law is or is not, even among lawyers. I mean, if you ask...
7 years, how old is Legal Eagle's channel? I don't know. Is it, has he been going for 7 years, or is this predictive of an eventual fall? Like, he only has 3 more years or something. I don't know. Birdlaw. The anticipation of the joke makes it funnier. I think this was the first time that I've been watching the video and I was ready for the joke. Like, I was ready for it this time.
You're a normal person, you're probably going to get an answer like it is the things that the legislature passes, the bills that then become law and then govern a certain given population. But if you ask a lawyer, they'll probably get even more granular, and they'll explain that while there are these statutes that are passed by a legislature, a government, there's also the Constitution, as well as the judge-made law. At least in the United States, we have a whole corpus of jurisprudence that is not passed by a particular Congress, but it is created in the common law as cases come before a court. The courts will then decide different things and fill in some of the gaps that are left by the laws themselves, or at least the statutes that have been passed. But then, obviously that doesn't include all of the things that qualify as a law within a given society. You have all kinds of unwritten laws, various formal and informal rules that a given population follows that may not actually be written into the law itself, but you create these norms and mores that people are going to follow. And then, of course, even if you're looking at the laws that are on the books or are created by different judges, not even all of those things are actually followed. So if you have a law on the books that no one actually enforces, is that considered part of the law? Well, that's an open question. So there's definitely a differing of opinion as between laws that are actually enforced by the state and those that aren't. And then you get into things like informal private laws. Is a contract between one person and another person in which those people agree to do or not do something, does that qualify as a form of the law itself? And this doesn't even scratch the surface of the legal positivism debate between HLA Hart and Ronald Dworkin,
I love
which I'm
this
not going
answer.
to go into because you don't pay me enough. So yeah, the law is a very complicated and complex subject with absolutely no agreement as to what qualifies and what doesn't.
A typically slippery answer. He won't be able to wriggle out of our contract so easily. Thank you, Devon.
Yeah, no problem, Trixie. It's my pleasure.
Well, fools though these mortals be, Devon did raise the interesting concept of rules, and
I love this idea. Like, she can just like bother him whenever, and he's like, oh, yeah, he's a good sport. He's good. He's a good sport.
name-dropped an important soul with big ideas about what legal rules are. The philosopher H.L.A. Hart. Hart said that a legal system consists of 2 kinds of rules, primary and secondary. Primary rules require people to do or not do certain things, like don't kill anyone. Secondary rules allow you to alter the primary rules, or alter your own position relative to them by saying and doing certain things. For instance, the laws of marriage are secondary rules. They allow you to alter your legal position. If you go through the right processes, you could be lawfully wedded. One day. Perhaps. But as Devon said, society is full of rules. There are rules like don't kill anyone, and there are rules like don't burp at the dinner table, don't sleep with your neighbour's wife. How do we distinguish between the rules of custom and politeness and the rules of law And remember,
Is that
we
Millie?
can't pick
Yeah, I don't.
enforcement.
I'm really not sure what this. It says Sally Mae. To Trixie, thanks for all your quote legal advice. XOXO Sally Mae. Is what it says. But I don't know who this is. Like, who is in the art. I don't know anything about this.
Perhaps. But as Devin said, society is full of rules. There are rules like don't kill anyone, and there are rules like don't burp at the dinner table, don't sleep with your neighbour's wife. How do we distinguish between the rules of custom and politeness and the rules of law? And remember, we can't pick enforcement as our criteria because laws are often
Sally Mae is from Hell of a Boss. Okay, I haven't ever seen that before. Excuse me. The oldest video on Legal Eagle's channel was 6 years old. Ooh, his time is running out.
enforced. Hart said that at the bottom of a legal system is a master rule called the rule of recognition, which distinguishes all law from non-law. To say that a rule is a law is not to say that it is enforced or backed up by anything, merely that it passes the tests set forth in the rule of recognition. Those tests might be very simple, like everything the king says is law. They might be very complex, involving constitutions, legislation, and courts. It might even, and here's where things get really devilish, be unwritten. The test could just be whatever people accept as law is law. So the difference between legal rules and non-legal ones could be a matter of perspective. Hart goes on to say that there's a special perspective which comes with genuine legal rules. On one hand, you've got what he calls the external perspective. That's when people see the rules as something which forces them from the outside, for example, through a threat of force. But on the other hand, there's the special legal internal perspective, when people see the rules themselves as giving them a reason to act. The fact that the law says do X means I should do it, not because it'll be good for me or because it's moral, but because it is the law. And what we're really talking about here is people viewing the law as authoritative, as giving them a reason to act. Raz says, imagine you have a dispute with your neighbour. He plants some trees that spoil your view and you cut them down, so he sues you. You take that case before an official arbitrator, like a judge, whose job is to consider the reasons on all sides. He spoiled my view, he destroyed my property, well, he only did that because I'm sleeping with his wife, and then to replace those reasons with authority. To say that whatever reasons you two had for acting the way that you did, now you get a new, final reason to do what I say, because I am the law.
The only proper way to acknowledge the arbitrator's authority is to take it to be the reason for action which replaces the reasons on the basis of which he was meant to decide. Dependent reasons are replaced by authoritative directives.
I can do a quick
sense.
demonstration of this replacement idea now. There are many reasons why you should go to patreon.com/philosophytube and support this show.
It's true.
You'd be making me happy.
You should also leave a comment on her video if you haven't done that already. Like, for sure. I haven't posted the video, I don't think, in the chat. But listen, you should hit like on the video and leave a nice comment. In fact, you see this? Look at this. Boing! I hit the like button. Look at me. I'm being a good dragon, and you all have to be good horties. Like the video.
You'd be making the crew happy. We'd get to make more of these episodes for you to watch and enjoy. But I can take all of those reasons and replace them with the authority that I get from this gun. Patreon.com/philosophytube. Sign up now, motherfucker! But seriously, when it comes to courts and the law, Raz says the point is not to replace reason with blind force. On the contrary, you and your neighbor are both going to be biased towards yourselves. But the judge is dispassionate and trained in the law and isn't sleeping with anybody's wife except his own. He is therefore in a better position to be reasonable than either of you.
Yes,
Raz-
agree, Obsus. Rather than the state, maybe Abigail should have the monopoly on violence. Abigail gets the monopoly on violence. Yes.
Says legal authorities act as a mediator between disputants and reasons. Or at least they are supposed to. The American Supreme Court is under some scrutiny at the moment because some of their judges accepted very expensive gifts that they did not disclose from people who had cases before the court and then ruled in favor of those people.
Uh-oh.
If that is what it looks like, then
I'm like so embarrassed to be from here.
court would no longer be dispassionately mediating between reasons and disputants, which would therefore undermine its authority. People might be less inclined to take the internal point of view with regards to the court's rulings and instead see the law as something forced on them externally. And speaking of enforcement, perhaps we should put the theory we've learned so far to the test and see how it stacks up in the real world. Because law isn't just for judges and courts. Raz says the third method for defining it is to see how it interacts with institutions. So if we really want to know what it is, then I'll grab my handcuffs and you pull out your truncheon and let's talk about the police.
Yes, mommy.
This is Tango Juliet Foxtrot by Ian Donnelly. Donnelly was a British police officer for 30 years, and in this memoir he reveals his very interesting perspective on what law and law enforcement is.
I wonder if she's going to address that point. Jay in the YouTube chat says, ContraPoints made a good point about laws and judges, in that they are an alternative to primal revenge killings and violence and feuding that can potentially last generations. Yeah, I can't remember what video that was, but I do remember what you're talking about. She's like, you know, they're in the past, there is this pattern of, like, you killed my brother, so I'll kill your dad, and then you kill my son, and, like, it just kind of keeps going back and forth, you know? I love this outfit, but I wouldn't be able to wear it. I don't think I can do latex. Like, I feel like it would make my skin, like, not happy, you know? Counting from the pinky has been a good flex. I noticed that as well. I was like, that really makes this character feel, unique in that she's like, it's like the 1, 2, 3, and then also like she's spreading the fingers out in a certain way. Like it gives that character like a very nice, like, unique sense compared to her other characters.
Spoilers, he doesn't think like philosophers say he should. But before we dive in, I need to bring my international viewers up to speed on some context, because most of my audience is American. And policing in the USA is different in some important ways from policing here.
Okay.
In particular, Donnelly talks a lot about austerity, so we need to know what that is. In 2008, the global economy went kaplunk, because it turned out the financial part of it was largely built on housing debt that people couldn't actually pay back. In response, the British government decided not to fundamentally alter the way we do finance or housing, but to cut back massively on public spending. They made huge budget cuts to youth programs, education, the arts, healthcare, just about every government department, cuts which are referred to as austerity. The stated goal of austerity was to reduce the government's budget deficit. It failed to do that, and seems to have resulted in somewhere between 100,000 and 300,000 deaths, which seem to have been concentrated in the most deprived areas of the country. Many of these cuts are still in effect today, and the politicians responsible have faced no consequences. At time of recording, police budgets were included in austerity. So immediately, big difference from the USA. As I understand it, a lot of American cops are quite well paid and get a lot of fancy new toys from the army, with variation between states, of course. In Britain, police officers' pay has decreased in real terms over the last 10 years. A lot of police stations have actually been closed. There's been a big drop in recruitment, and there are even reports that some officers are having to use food banks. So when people talk about defunding the police, in Britain, we kind of did. The trouble is, instead of putting that money into social services, we defunded everything. And Donnelly doesn't pull his punches when it comes to the impact this has had. He says the police have kind of become the only social service left in Britain. People who should be getting mental health care or addiction treatment are getting nothing, their problems develop into crises, and the cops have to clean up the mess. Or young people who should be in some kind of education or training have nothing to do, no money, no future to look forward to, and so they turn to crime. At the same time as the workload is increasing, there aren't enough officers to do the job. Everybody's overworked, underpaid, burning out, and getting poached by the private sector. As a result, it's a great time to start a new career as a criminal.
Neighborhood policing is now almost non-existent because of the loss of thousands of police officers, police staff, and the closure of hundreds of police stations. Detection rates for crimes solved by the police have plummeted and are now at an all-time low. The charge and prosecution rate for total recorded crime in England and Wales sat at a relatively stable and respectable rate of...
Oh, that's Finn. Okay, I was like, wait, yeah, that's Finn. Yeah. I'm sorry, I was so distracted by trying to understand whose voice that was. I was like, I know who that is. Who the fuck is that? I gotta take this back a minute. I gotta read this. Hold on.
Neighborhood policing is now almost non-existent because of the loss of thousands of police officers, police staff, and the closure of hundreds of police stations. Detection rates for crimes solved by the police have plummeted and are now at an all-time low. The charge and prosecution rate for total recorded crime in England and Wales sat at a relatively stable and respectable rate of around 16% in the years leading up to 2015. This figure has steadily fallen year on year to a rather dismal and embarrassing rate of 7% in 2020. Any member of the British public that's unfortunate enough to become a victim will have little expectation that the police will catch or charge the criminal who was responsible. And for criminals, there has never been a better time to commit a crime in the UK.
Donnelly also says the police have to spend a lot of time doing stuff that makes the government happy, but which isn't actually useful. For example, say the directive comes down from the Home Office that the police need to do more to highlight diversity. Some bright spark comes up with an idea, hey, let's send an officer out in a rainbow patterned car and post pictures of it on social media, and that person gets a pat on the head and a nice promotion. But a lot of LGBT people don't buy that act for a second.
Nope.
And meanwhile, there's actual crimes going unsolved. Speaking only for myself, as an L, not G, maybe B, notorious T, I'm not filled with confidence when I see cops wearing rainbows. One time at a protest, I was thrown to the ground by an officer wearing a rainbow pride pin. I paused in midair to appreciate the irony before I collided with London's uncompromising pavement. Donnelly says all this crap results in a time-wasting management culture within the police force.
I'm not surprised by that, but I did not know that she had intimate experiences with police brutality. Yeah, I did not realize this.
That focuses more on key performance indicators and gathering good data for government reports than actually doing the job.
If a crime was assessed as too difficult or time-consuming to solve, it received very little attention, whereas crimes that were easier to solve received a gold standard of service because they would generate a Home Office-approved detection and points-mean prizes. New offences reported by members of the public in the previous 24 hours were subjected to a microscopic level of scrutiny. Not necessary to try and figure out who had committed them, perish the thought, but to reclassify them as something that didn't get measured. The primary purpose of policing, protecting the public, became almost secondary to chasing Home Office targets, and the rules were pushed to the absolute limit to hit those targets.
So, this is the context in which
Interesting.
Donnelly is writing. British policing is on its arse. Now we can examine his arguments. I'm going to be as generous as I can.
Police, quote, gathering data is just a self-justifying feedback loop. More leftists need to remember this. Yeah, like, you know, we will do a committee to figure out what we need, and then, you know, they'll just it's recursive. London's pavement isn't as uncompromising as you may think.
And try and critique them on their own terms. So I'll start with what I liked about the book. Donnelly's comments about austerity definitely chimed with what I've heard from teachers and doctors who report similar problems with overwork, underfunding, and bureaucracy. And I really like those moments where somebody says something and I go, oh, hey, you know, that's what all these other people have been saying too, because it's like, yay, mutual understanding. He also writes quite powerfully about the link between poverty and crime. And that reminded me that I should stay intellectually humble here. Cards on the table, I'm pretty left-wing. I do my best to always be neutral on this show, but I'm somebody who at least claims to care about the conditions that my fellow humans live in. But police officers like Donnelly probably see more of the real deprivation and poverty in this country than I do. And that was a sobering thought. Now, let's consider what the law is, as Donnelly presents it. He tells us about the oath he took when he became a cop, which was to serve the Queen and keep the peace, and to discharge his duties in service of those objectives according to law. And immediately, that's an interesting detail. According to the oath, the law provides the method for doing the job, but it is not the job itself. Donnelly says the job is to protect people. And that's also interesting, because protecting people and enforcing the law are not the same thing. One would hope that they normally go together, but it's noticeable that Donnelly separates them. In fact, he even says that the law can sometimes get in the way of protecting people. For example, the Freedom of Information Act and the Human Rights Act. And if you're very clever, you'll already have linked this back to what H.L.A. Hart said in part 1. Donnelly seems to be taking the external point of view with regards to the law. He thinks that officers should obey it because if you don't, you're a liability and because you might get in trouble, but he doesn't seem to think it provides an authoritative reason to act on its own. So what does? Donnelly lists the qualities he thinks a frontline officer...
Hold on, it's more like Comstat in New York. They used data about where they saw crimes to inform where they should patrol. So they put more police in those areas, and surprise, more, quote, crime was seen there because cops looking for it, or more cops are looking for it. This is often used by racists to try and justify the overpolicing of black neighborhoods. Okay, yeah, I see what you're getting at there, yeah. Because, yeah, you know, if you only, you know, in the United States at least, it's considered, like, if you actually look at the statistics, that, like, white people and black people use drugs, like, roughly the same amount. Like, a drug like cannabis, you know? Like, people use it at roughly the same amounts, no matter what racial demographic you're in, but black people are, like, charged and arrested and like, policed more, like, because they're looking for the crime in those places, you know? Like, white people can do things that are against the law and not get caught. Like, a black person gets pulled over for not using their turn signal, and then they find out that there's drugs in the car. Whereas, like, a white person who doesn't use their turn signal doesn't get pulled over, so they could be doing all kinds of crazy illegal shit and, like, just simply not get caught. Yeah. So it is sort of, yeah, it's a self-justifying feedback loop in that regard, for sure.
Officer should have. They should have a good memory and an eye for detail and so on. I noticed that knowing the law was not on that list. He also lists the ways you can spot a criminal. Is their body language confrontational? Are they looking around a lot? Are they anxious? And none of the things he lists are illegal. You're allowed to be anxious in public. I was anxious when I stepped out of my front door this morning. Although in fairness, I could have worn a coat. And then Donnelly says this.
An experienced police officer can spot criminal behavior and criminals instantly. Not because they're doing anything dramatic at that moment, but because they behave differently to law-abiding people. It's very hard to describe this sense that someone's up to no good, particularly when giving evidence in court. A court focuses solely on evidence, facts, and verifiable events.
This is a stunning admission that policing, in Donnelly's eyes anyway,
It's very
does
feels-oriented.
not rely solely on evidence, facts, verifiable events, or the law. And this becomes a bit of a theme with him. By the way, heads up, you are watching the YouTube version of this video, not the Nebula version. There are certain words that I need to say now, which if you say them out loud on YouTube, risk the video getting demonetized, in particular when I'm talking about what YouTube calls controversial events. So, the words that I mean will appear on the screen like this. Donnelly talks a lot about police officers using their discretion. In particular, their power to stop members of the public and search us.
Is this criminal essentialism? Right, yeah. It's like the, you know, you're gonna create, like, associations in this way where you're like, okay, people who are acting like this, I investigated them and discovered that they were doing crime, but all of the criminals who are very chill people who act normal in public don't get caught, like, and so you're just creating, like, this bias. Yeah, the YouTube dystopia.
for...
Hold on.
Donnelly talks a lot about police officers using their discretion. In particular, their power to stop members of the public and search us for... Stop and search is a hot button issue in Britain. A lot of officers think that it's just a normal crime prevention tactic that gets needlessly politicized, and Donnelly seems to agree. He says junior officers are too timid about using it, too afraid of being seen as racist or whatever, and that he has personally witnessed officers stop and search members of the public who seemed innocuous to him, only to find they were in fact carrying, presumably not all at the same time. And that's amazing. The police spidey sense at work. But I noticed that Donnelly does not cite any statistics about stop and search.
Yeah, he doesn't.
I'm a good little nerd who always does her homework, so I went
grope.
away and I looked them up. Between March 2021 and 22 in England and Wales, there were just over 500,000 stop and searches performed. Of those, 75% led to no further action by police. No arrest, no formal caution, no charges, nothing. And in fairness, we could allow a little bit of wiggle room here because stop and search can be used for the stop part. Like if it's all kicking off at a protest and the police want to put the brakes on somebody, they can stop and search them, which keeps them in one spot and reminds them to behave. Those stop and searches usually aren't going to find anything because they're not supposed to. So, okay, let's give them a little bit of leeway and be generous. But still, it is a fact that when officers use their discretion and instincts in the way Donnelly recommends, most of the time, they are wrong. And it's kind of weird that he doesn't mention that. From those same stats, I learned that black people in England and Wales are about 6 times more likely to be stopped and searched than white people, and Asian people about twice as likely. And Donnelly acknowledges that people of colour are more likely to be stopped and searched, arrested, charged, imprisoned, spend time in police custody, and die in police custody. And he says this has nothing to do with racism, and more to do with alcohol, poverty, housing, and something he calls sudden death in restraint syndrome. That piqued my interest because I'd never heard of it. So again, I went and looked it up. The theory is that if somebody exercises very strenuously in a short burst, say by running away from the cops, and then gets restrained, this might do something to their heart or their blood oxygen that then causes them to die. Maybe. There have been studies done on this. Here's just a few that I found with...
So yeah, let me look at the study up top here and I'll read it to you real quick since it's like tucked away up there. Come on. Excuse you. Let me go to the next... Come on, I'm frame by frame through here. Okay, the effects of positional restraint on heart rate and oxygen saturation. Okay.
Is just a few that I...
Restraint position and positional asphyxia.
I found with a quick Google. You're welcome to go and read them if you're
ventilatory and metabolic demands during aggressive physical restraint in healthy adults.
Training to be a police officer, or you're really into BDSM. None of those studies have proven the existence of any such syndrome in a clinical setting. On the other hand, trying to be generous here, maybe some people have pre-existing conditions that are brought on by a struggle, or maybe are involved. Whatever the truth of the matter, I noticed that Donnelly doesn't even try to cite the medical literature. He just says sudden death and restraint syndrome like it definitely exists, and then moves on.
Yep.
And at this point, my spidey sense was tingling. I was like, there's a philosophy somewhere in here. Quick, fetch the tube! I'm going somewhere with this, so stick with me. Donnelly says, time and again, that police officers are not supported. And part of what he means is that they don't have enough resources to do the job because of austerity. But he also seems to be using the word support in a different sense.
Officers now have almost no expectation whatsoever of being supported by the courts, the media, the government, or for that matter, their own organization if they make an honest mistake. That's what people don't understand about the police. It's generally not the things that you have to deal with that stress you out. It's trying to deal with an atmosphere where you know if something goes wrong, you'll be hung out to dry by the media, by the courts, by the chief officers who will cave to political pressures and won't have your back.
Now look, I don't doubt that policing can be stressful and even traumatizing. Donnelly makes that very clear. He also says that sometimes when you're a cop, you get put in situations where there's not really a right answer and you're gonna get criticized whatever you do, but you have to do something. And yeah, I can see how that would be upsetting. His frustration and his hurt really come across. I understand the emotional core of what he is saying. However, as I'm reading this, I'm wondering, what do you mean when you say police officers aren't supported? Because the facts show that cops in Britain frequently are supported. Donnelly himself says it's almost impossible to sack a bad cop.
Challenging bad behavior, sloppy work, or laziness almost inevitably results in some sort of formal grievance procedure. Allegations of bullying, or repeated periods of sickness or absenteeism. The systems currently in place for getting rid of lazy or unprofessional police officers are unbelievably bureaucratic, time-consuming, and ineffectual.
And he's not alone in this opinion. The Commissioner of the Metropolitan Police himself was recently interviewed on the BBC and said,
Yeah, it's like none of this is like that different to America, you know, like where officers, you know, can throw someone on the ground or can otherwise like behave improperly. And like, of course, Donnelly is focusing on like, oh, these lazy officers who don't want to work, because he probably personally doesn't have an issue with throwing people onto the sidewalk. Like, yeah, thin blue line shit. Yeah, why won't the masses love us unconditionally? Sag. Feels bad, man. I go to a BDSM party on the last Sunday of every month. I've seen a lot of restraints, and yet no one has died. Yeah, weird how that works. Crazy how, like, tons of people do bondage all across this country, and yet this is, like, suddenly when police are involved. Yeah, like, let's get up our cardio by fucking really rough, and then I'm gonna restrain you and tie you down. Like, sudden bondage death syndrome.
this.
Police regulations make this harder than it ought to be in terms of processing misconduct and sacking people. We've got some officers who we sacked, but other legal bodies who have a power to reinstate them did. So I've got officers that we determine shouldn't be police officers, and yet I have to keep them. I'm the commissioner, and yet I can't decide who my own workforce is. We have some very worrying cases with officers who have committed criminality whilst police officers, and yet I'm not allowed to sack them. It's crazy.
And even when things go really wrong, it sure seems like cops are supported. In 2005, an innocent man named whilst minding his own business on the tube. The police officer in charge of that operation, Cressida Dick, was not only allowed to remain on the force, she was promoted. In 2009, a man named the officer who did that had 10 previous complaints for excessive force against him, but was still on the streets. And then there's...
Oh, yeah.
There were multiple complaints about him that went nowhere. And of course...
Was Sarah Everard the woman who there was all those, like, there were all those, like, vigils and stuff for her a couple years ago? Like, this was the one, right? And, like, police showed up at those vigils and were physical with the women there. Sudden death. Yeah, being in front of my gun and not giving me your money syndrome.
His nickname was literally...
Yeah.
But he was allowed to remain on the force until...
Massive drive for a focus on, quote, women's safety in Britain more so than police accountability. Yeah, of course. Yeah, the focus is on, like, what women can do to keep themselves safe, not, you know, notwithstanding the fact that police officers are supposed to make women safer, you know, like in an ideal world.
So he did that. So clearly, sometimes police officers are supported a little bit too much. And Donnelly acknowledges this. I don't think he's deliberately trying to lie, but I was racking my brains trying to figure out, what do you mean you're not supported? And the penny finally dropped when he discusses the McPherson report. For international viewers, let me give you the quick version. In April of 1993, a young black man named...
Okay.
The police investigation was a little bit of a dog's breakfast. There were leads that weren't followed up on. It took too long to arrest anybody. So his family started a campaign to get justice, and then undercover officers tried to sabotage that campaign. It was a real mess. So the government ordered an inquiry, which concluded that the initial investigation was incompetent and the Metropolitan Police were institutionally racist.
Yeah, I've also always heard it McPherson or McPherson, but I don't know. Maybe it's like I mean, it's a specific like Scottish or Irish name.
That inquiry was called the McPherson Report. It was a landmark moment in modern British history. And Donnelly says this.
From that time onwards, British policing lost its confidence and became a deeply fearful, risk-averse institution in which officers started to anticipate calamity around every corner, even when dealing with quite trivial incidents. Police managers had seen the way that anyone even loosely involved with the Stephen Lawrence case had been treated by the courts and by the media, and they became terrified of finding themselves in the same position.
And suddenly, it hit me. Donnelly does not dispute any of the findings of the report. He doesn't go through it and say, this is what it says, and this is why I think it's wrong. His problem with it is that it was bad for morale. Just like with stop and search and deaths in custody, he's not talking about facts. I think when he says officers aren't supported, what he means is it hurts his feelings when people criticize them. And yeah, I'm sure it does. But genuinely, what do we do when the facts about policing are not kind? Donnelly's answer seems to be that you ignore them. So, Donnelly's theory of policing and the law seems to be something like this. I make a decision. I make it based on instinct, not facts. You should trust my instincts because I'm a good guy. And therefore, my decision should not be questioned by anyone who isn't a cop. In fact, the entire business of subjecting police decisions to reasoned factual criticism in the public sphere is fundamentally wrong. Have you ever seen the film A Few Good Men?
No.
Basically, he's doing Jack Nicholson in that. We seem to be quite a long way from the idea that the law is based on reasons or rules. Donnelly's not mediating between reasons and disputants. By his own admission...
Oh, it's that you can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
He's operating on his subjective judgment. If there are rules in play here, they are more vague and woolly than, for example, the rules of computer programming. Clearly, we need to go deeper.
Okay, Trixie, we're back.
Let's think more deeply about rules and see if we can explain all this. Hart said that rules try to set a general standard, and therefore, in order to use them, we have to decide whether the case we are considering counts as a specific instance of the general type of action to which the rule refers. For example, if the rules say, don't kill anyone, and you shoot somebody, that's a specific instance, shooting, of the general type of action, killing, to which the rule refers. And we know, therefore, that the rule applies in this case. But there'll always be cases where we aren't sure if the rule applies or not. For example, say you shoot someone, but seconds earlier they have a heart attack and get struck by lightning and get hit by a car. Did you kill them? Is that specific action an instance of the general type to which the rule refers? That's an open question. Hart says that rules have open texture. There are central cases when we know they obviously apply, but there are also fringe cases where we have a penumbra of doubt. Great phrase.
Sure.
And that's a deliberately unrealistic example I just gave, but consider words like reasonable, safe, fair, words used all the time in written law.
This is one of the things that I hated about Riley Grace Rochong, is like, she abused that word reasonable. She would say like, you know, any reasonable person would think that this is like exposing a child to sexuality or whatever the fuck her fucking argument was. Like, yeah, literally any reasonable person could see that if you go barefoot next to your foot fetishist partner, that's exposing children to sexual acts and is therefore pedophilia. Like, any reasonable person could see how this is pedophilia. Like, what the fuck, Riley? Oh my god. She is still doing stuff. Like, she is influencing law in Maryland. Reasonable is when you agree with me, true. Lawyers love a good made-up reasonable person that conveniently agrees with them entirely. Truly, yeah, you can just appeal to, like, the idea of what a reasonable person would think. And so, like, that means that the law is dependent on, like, what you can convince most people to say is reasonable or not, you know? I don't wear socks or shoes unless I have to. Does that make me a predator? If you were dating a foot fetishist partner and you guys went for a walk together barefoot, you were exposing children to your kink or something.
That don't have precise definitions. They are vague. A famous real-life example would be the 1964 American Supreme Court case Jacobellis v. Ohio, which revolved around whether the state of Ohio could ban a film they called obscene. The American Constitution protects obscenity except for...
Okay.
Which, it turns out, is a vague term. There's no precise formula for how much ass needs to be shown on screen for how long and from what angles to count as that, which led Justice Potter Stewart to coin the now famous definition of I know it when I see it. And what this comes down to is somebody somewhere deciding whether the rule applies.
Yeah, so this is actually common in sexual law, like sexual law. Like, there isn't an explicit definition of child sexual, like, content, like child porn. Like, there isn't a consistent legal definition of CP because that is the standard. The legal standard is I know it when I see it. So, like, you know, there is, like, a blurry line between, like, you know, a fully clothed child versus, like, a child with a bathing suit versus, like, a child in their underwear or whatever. Like, so it's, like, the manner in which the photo was taken and stuff like this, like, that's the standard, is I know it when I see it. Seems like the term reasonable person could fall into the no true Scotsman fallacy. True, yeah, like, no reasonable person would think XYZ and, like, relying upon that for a Scotsman fallacy? Sure.
Is it safe? Is it fair? Is it reasonable? Is it obscene? The words on the page won't tell you. A human being has to make a choice. Now, philosophers, including Hart, say that it's important not to overstate this vagueness. The law is not completely made up with absolutely no constraints. It's just that sometimes, rarely, a judge has to fill in the gaps. But those same philosophers tend to focus on judges and courts, probably because a lot of them used to be lawyers. And I think this idea has more play than they realize, because it's the act of choosing that Donnelly emphasizes.
Reading the bills in the anti-trans blitz this past year has been absolutely bonkers because they go into insane levels of detail like you're describing and yet are somehow still incredibly unenforceably vague. It's maddening. Yeah, I mean, it's like part of what I have had to become good at explaining this past year is that, you know, what it says in the law is vague, but that means that there is a lot of discretion. Like, the more vaguely a law is written, the more discretion there is on individual police officers or individual police chiefs or individual judges to interpret and decide when that law actually applies. Like, I had a class when I was like a junior or a senior or something. I had a US government class, right? And one of the things that we learned, because here's this teacher, it was amazing. This teacher had us, like, agree to what the rules of the class were going to be. Like, he did not have a set classroom rules for any of his government classes. What he would do is he would split the class up into two parts, and we would have to write the rules of the classroom in this way that, like, the actual process works. So you would have to say, you know, you are allowed to have food in the classroom, perhaps, if you can agree on the rules and then, like, and lock it down. Like, you have to say, you know, can you have snacks? Sure, but, like, also the rule has to be that you can't leave a mess, because then that ruins everybody having snacks. You know, like, you might want to write into the law that you can't have food delivered to the classroom, because that would, like, be disruptive to the class. So, like, there are so many potential exceptions the more vaguely you write the law. So, like, it's really part of the legal system, and part of how it's supposed to work is that, and part of the reason why it's supposed to bounce back and forth between the two houses of Congress is to try to eliminate as many of those wiggle room exceptions, to make it clear so that when a judge has a case before them, they can say, well, clearly here it says this is right and this is wrong. You know, clearly you're allowed to have food in the class, but clearly you're not allowed to have it delivered. So, you know, the matter is settled or whatever. And it's less open to interpretation. And it's less likely that someone will commit some kind of loophole crime and not be able to be prosecuted for it, you know? That's what makes it... Yeah, you shall do no wrong. Vague enough? Just don't do anything wrong. Just do everything right and don't do anything wrong. And that's the only law of the land. Easy.
If his views are representative of police officers, then the vagueness of law will structure most people's frontline interactions with it. And we can see this very clearly with a little look at history.
Oh my god, True, hold on. True, orders food to my locker and goes out to get it on a bathroom break. Loophole! True! Yeah, these heels are insane. I feel like I would break my ankle. But I don't know, I need to practice. I have bought several pairs of heels recently, and I just need to practice with them more. It's an old Southern legal trick when writing discriminatory laws. This is Jim Crow 2.0 using the same old tricks against the queer community instead of African Americans. Yeah, exactly. These heels are wonderful. Yeah, so now we have a queer phobia and police violence content warning.
In February of 1981, police in Toronto, Canada conducted Operation Soap, during which they raided 4 bathhouses. The legal justification they used was these were bawdy houses, brothels, basically, which was against the rules. But these 4 bathhouses in particular were gay bathhouses. Mm-hmm. The police assaulted several people, yelled homophobic slurs at them, smashed walls and lockers even whilst being offered the keys, dragged people naked into the snow, and said some truly horrible things.
Too bad the place didn't catch fire. Oh, yikes. Yikes on that one. Ooh, okay. That's fucked up. I don't want to repeat that. She doesn't walk in them, she reclines in them.
This ended up being a significant historical moment, and it's also a nice little illustration of why LGBT people, sex workers, and people of color hang together. I sometimes see straight cis people go, oh, why is it LGB and T? Like, isn't T a different thing? And sometimes it is. But the officer who shoves you against a wall and calls you a... doesn't particularly care about the nuances. Incidentally, the Canadian media supported this. One columnist in the Toronto Star described gay men as social terrorists intent on establishing totalitarian rule in our country.
True.
2 things. Firstly, totalitarian gay rule...
Oh, she is cuffed to the couch. That's true. She is cuffed to the couch right there.
...has not been established in Canada since 1981, unless there's been some big changes since I was last there. So firstly, this columnist was just straight up wrong. But secondly, the British journalist Helen Joyce described trans people as terrorists in May of this year and called for increased policing against us.
True.
There's nothing original being made these days. It's all sequels and remakes. But what's interesting for our educational purposes is the police went beyond the letter of the law and selectively applied it. The rules didn't say that they had to use homophobic slurs and excessive violence, but they chose to do that. The rules also didn't say they had to target gay bawdy houses more than straight ones, but they chose that too. Lest we think this sort of thing is confined to history, the policing of sex workers still operates in a similar fashion. The difference between wearing a sexy outfit on the street because it looks nice and wearing a sexy outfit because you are manifesting a criminal intent to commit prostitution often comes down to a police officer making a choice about where and whether they are going to apply the law. And the facts show that these rules are often applied disproportionately against trans women of color.
True. Yeah, we so rarely actually get to choose our labels. Right. Like, that's one of the things that I think is so stupid about the concept that, like, trans men can't experience misogyny, or that trans women are never afforded male privilege, no matter how long before they came out or whatever, blah, blah, blah. Like, like, society is going to treat you a certain way. And, of course, like, yes, a lot of trans women don't have traditional access to masculinity. I understand that y'all are faggots. I get it. Lovingly. But yes, if trans women ruled the country, the White House would be filled with stripy socks and would emit constant yeah sounds and nothing would ever get done. True. Yeah. I don't remember who said it, but someone said, I don't negotiate with teachers' unions because they're a bunch of terrorists. Oh my god, psycho shit, though.
The vagueness of law comes from the vagueness of language itself. And in fact, we can imagine the law as being a little bit like a language. The language of legalese, if you like. The law has content, but it also has grammar, which means you can construct new sentences in legalese that haven't been said before, but which still make sense. For example, Operation Soap. The police chose to apply the law in a new way, which went beyond the letter, but kept the spirit. And because they were empowered to do so, their choice became the law.
The raids were not just about crimes. Since body house provisions have been enforced sporadically, if at all, they were about regulation. The men in blue were there to intimidate, humiliate, and control gay male space and sexuality. They were there to enforce a particular order, one that is intrinsically heterosexual, one in which proper men are ultra-masculine, punch holes in walls, smash glass, and pick on little kids.
Yeah, that is interesting. Like, that not only in the, like, the attacking of the gay establishment, you know, is asserting that being gay is, like, a failure of masculinity in a way, but, like, also in the doing of it, they did a bunch of, like, toxic masculine behaviors, like breaking stuff even though they were literally being offered the keys and things such as this. Like they engaged in a toxic masculinity at the same time, which is just interesting. I hadn't really thought of it in that lens.
What is the law? It seems there isn't an answer, because the law is indeterminate. Not completely, but more so than we might have thought. Sometimes in philosophy we discover the question is unanswerable, which leaves us only with the bigger question: how do we feel about that? On the one hand, it's rather frightening. As we saw from Operation Soap, judges and cops are empowered to make choices that acquire the force of law, choices which are supposed to be based on rules and evidence which anyone can examine, but which, as we've seen, might not be. Not only is that a little frightening, it also rather undermines the point of law, which is to authoritatively settle disputes. There's a reason that judges use the language of deducing rulings rather than choosing them. The law is supposed to be fixed and clear and impartial. As soon as we start talking about choices, well, then we might start questioning those choices. On the other hand, the indeterminacy of law might be useful. The philosopher Timothy Endicott says a vague rule can empower people far more than a precise one ever could. Here's a real-world example. In the United Kingdom, the law prohibits discrimination against lesbians, but it does not explicitly define what lesbianism is. And according to the Oxford English Dictionary, lesbianism is a great use of a Saturday night. There is a tiny group of people who want the government to set a precise legal definition, and in particular to exclude trans women from it. The term lesbianism is vague, legally speaking. And I, for one, think that's a good thing, because it allows people to choose whether or not it applies to them. It maximizes the freedom and self-determination of the population relative to the primary and secondary rules of the law. What is lesbianism? I know it when I see it. As a demon, of course, I have no feelings whatsoever. I can only tell you what the books say. You have to apply the forbidden knowledge for yourself. But shouldst thou seek to delve deeper, Dr. Faustus, my pet lawyer, Devon, has prepared an entire course about how to sue someone and how lawsuits actually work. You can see that course now on Nebula, a streaming service where your favorite creators are imprisoned for eternity without ads or censorship. Every episode of Philosophy Tube is available early on Nebula, along with Legal Eagle, Wendover, Lindsay Ellis, and all the Princes of Hell. That's right, I said Lindsay Ellis. You thought she'd retired from YouTube, but no! She is making new content exclusively in the digital off.
Man, that makes it worth it. Oh, god damn it. I think about Lindsay Ellis fucking constantly. I've been watching Lord of the Rings movies recently, so I've been thinking about her a lot. Oh, I know, she's so good. She deserves so many good things. She really does. Yeah, she deserved none of the shit that she got. Absolutely none of it. She has a baby now, like, I'm so happy for her, you know? Her new videos are bangers, too. Yeah, listen, I'm gonna have to fucking get Nebula. I have to get god damn it. I'm about to be in a much better financial position to get Nebula. I'm gonna do it. I can afford one subscription. Okay, is there anything else in here?
The life. Or, if you prefer a little entertainment on the other side, you can also watch an award-winning play that I wrote. It's called The Prince. It was recorded live on stage in London. It has Shakespeare, sword fighting, vaguely defined lesbianism, all the delights of Elysium. To see all this and more, bury yourself with coins on your eyes so the boatman can ferry you across. Or click the link in the description, go.nebula.tv/philosophytube, and get a 40% discount on annual plans, which works out at $2.50 a month.
I was not really online when the Lindsay Ellis stuff went on, so I don't know what happened at all. So, I mean, it was basically just like Twitter bullshit, you know, because Lindsay does, she did those video essays, and it was, she like did Transformers and the Hobbit movies. Like, she would do, video, like, media analysis bullshit. She has a film degree, so she would talk about it from the perspective of a filmmaker, and I love that shit. And she also talks about it from the perspective of, like, being a woman and, like, all this stuff. So she posted on Twitter something about how, like, there was some new movie, like Raya and the Something Dragon bullshit or whatever, and she was like, this is kind of a rehash of something else. Was it like, she was like, this is kind of like Avatar: The Last Airbender? She made a comparison. She was like, this thing is kind of like this thing, and because they were both vaguely Asian media, everybody was like, oh my god, you're gonna reduce this down just because it's like vaguely Asian looking, and then like this... Yeah, she got dragged for an uncontroversial opinion, and she got a mob that pulled up stuff that was like 13 years old and just harassed her endlessly for weeks. Yeah, and like, she got harassment for being, Thank you, Obsis, for the $20 dono again. Enjoy yourself some Nebula, or eat food, or pay rent, whatever. I'm not your mom. Thank you. Yes, thank you so much. If you guys want to see a flexing today, I've been back in the gym for several weeks now. So my arms are probably getting bigger. Question mark. But yes, appreciate it very much, Obsis. And like, she was friends with Natalie, during ContraPoint's biggest controversies when people were calling her, like, NB-phobic and stuff, The fact that Lindsay remained her friend meant that Lindsay got caught in the crossfire for that as well. So just, she did respond at one point. So Lindsay herself does have or had at least, that's a good question. Is Lindsay's video about her harassment still on her channel, or did she delete it? Because she did respond. She was like, there are some things that I will apologize for and other things that I will not, and go fuck yourself. People still insist that Contra is NB-phobic. Yeah, people are morons. Yeah, I think she deleted that video or made it private, because she really went into detail. She like talked about her experience with the sexual assault and things like that. Like, it was a very raw video, and I almost wish that I had gone back and watched it more recently since she deleted it now. But, like, yeah. She just had a really negative reaction, and her body reacted with a lot of stress, and it, like, brought back a lot of her trauma. And so she quit the internet. She was posting on Patreon. Honestly, for a while, I think that she was not going to post on Patreon even, but I think that there were enough people who signed up in support, because she was like, yeah, I have employees, like I have hired people, and they have health insurance through my company, so I can't just stop making content. Like, I can't just, like, dissolve the company, or else, like, people who I know and care about, their kids will lose health insurance, right? So then I think that's when I supported her on Patreon. I started supporting her on Patreon when she quit YouTube. And so, yeah, she started making content exclusively on Patreon for a while, and now she makes content exclusively on Nebula. And she still does some work with, like, the PBS, like, some Crash Course PBS bullshit with Hank Green and all them. Like, she was presenting some of their videos at one point. Is being Homo sapien phobic a bad thing? I am quickly losing my faith in humanity these days. I am just investing in the people immediately around me, and, like, I'm investing in myself. So yeah, I definitely hate people a lot. Anthrophobic. I am anthrophobic. Oh my god, that is what I am. I am anthrophobic. Not agoraphobic, that's a different thing. I am simply a hater. Oh man. I am a hater. Capital H. Okay, I think the rest of this video is credits. So we have successfully finished a Philosophy Tube video. Philosophy Tube. We did it. But yeah, Lindsay Ellis is so fucking great, you know? Like, her videos on the Omegaverse were really good. I don't even remember if I did not watch this video about Loki, the MCU, and narcissism, because I was still planning on watching the TV show Loki at that time, but I might watch it now. But yeah, like, tracing the roots of pop culture transphobia was really good. I loved her Omegaverse videos. Those were very funny. Protest music of the Bush era was also a really good video, TBH. Like, honestly, Lindsay is just fucking awesome, and I'm so glad that she is able to make content in a space that feels safe to her now. Joke shamelessly stolen from Abigail Thorne. Truly. Wait, which one? Which joke? Because she did, like, take some jokes specifically from Natalie, I remember at one point. Oh, Ahab. Oh, I was assigned hater at birth. Oh, yes, I remember that from the NHS video. I was assigned hater at birth. Yeah, I remember that one. I've watched that video, like, a shocking number of times, considering that it is almost 2 hours long. Like, a shocking number of times that I've rewatched that feature film length YouTube video. Goodness gracious. Maddening though. I can't fucking imagine. At least I mean, I don't know. We're losing access to healthcare here, and, like, you know, like, there's like a Republican supermajority in Kansas, so it's like, if they had the political motivation to do it, like, they could make trans-related healthcare illegal in Kansas. Like, who the fuck knows? I've watched Lord of the Rings a number of times that would be shocking if I hadn't lost count years ago. Well, true enough, yeah. I don't know how many times I've watched Lord of the Rings. I've watched The Fellowship of the Ring more than I've watched the other ones, probably. But I have no idea how many times. But it feels different for some reason. Like, for some reason, watching an hour and a half long YouTube video feels, like, weird in a way that watching a movie a number of times doesn't feel weird. Don't ask me how many times I've watched Sean's 3 hour, 39 minutes on the bell curve. I had that one on my downloads list for a while. I listened to it during my commute back when I was in school. It doesn't look like we're gonna get a flex today, y'all. I'm so sorry. I feel like it's partially on me. I haven't been streaming as regularly lately. So, you know, I didn't really. I mean, I kind of like, you could see me a little bit, but like, it's not the same as like giving you several minutes of flex. The only way for me to hide my arms is for me to wear long sleeves, and I can't do it. No. No looking. It's lewd. You're not permitted to see. No worries, yeah. I'm honestly not too concerned about the me making money part. It's mostly the, like, do you get to see me flex part right this second? I understand, y'all. Everybody just paid rent. Like, I just paid rent. Like, Patreon's gonna come through this week. I'll be alright. I just haven't flexed in a little while. I haven't been streaming as regularly. That's partially because having, a teenager in my apartment really fucks my whole brain over, so I'm hoping that that will be less of an issue in the future when the dynamic is a little bit different. Because right now, it's like, God, you're entering my, like, sacred space. This is my holy, sacred, peaceful space, and these teenagers do not necessarily bring peace with them when they come in the door. You know what I mean? I'm sorry, Lux, I'm ordering a pizza. You deserve it. Girl, you deserve it. Eat that pizza. I got a birthday card from my grandparents that dead named me with cash in it, and I just spent that money on refilling my HRT. That's one way to do it. Hell yeah. Pizza time. Yes. Hello, Silent, my dear. I actually did order a pizza last night. I have not ordered a pizza in a long time, but I decided that it was pizza time. And it was yummy. It was quite yummy. I'm sorry that I'm making you want pizza. Yeah, listen, I ate right before stream, but I didn't really eat enough this week. So I'm having catch-up hunger where I'm like, hey, dumbass, you didn't eat very much this week, but you still exercised like 5 days out of the 7. So maybe you should eat something. Like, recover that energy a little bit. Peter Parker voice. Pizza time. I can't remember the last time I ordered a pizza. I usually just get shitty frozen pizza because cheap. I mean, that's totally fair. I like getting frozen pizza because I can pay for it with my SNAP benefits. So that's a good thing. That's a good reason to get pizza from the frozen section. Any hoozle. I think now that I've had the teenager out of my house for a day or so, I'll start to feel a little bit better. But yeah, I'm hoping that the rest of this week we're returning to normal with stream stuff, hopefully the rest of the week. Excuse me. I'm just now finishing up my first ever earned paid vacation from work. I haven't spent pretty much any money this week. Too busy sleeping. Jiminy Christmas, Andy's Mints. Holy shit. Why am I not getting an option to send a super chat? Okay, so Vicon, here's the thing about super chats. YouTube takes like 40% of your money. Like somewhere between 30 to 40% of your money. So the only way to support my show is directly through PayPal or on my website, because that way it's only PayPal fees that come through. I'm sorry that it's not an easy available option on the YouTube page, but truly it's like, I just feel shitty if you send me $5 and I only receive like $3 of it, you know, like that just feels like it's an irresponsible way to platform your donation. Anyway, thank you so much, Andy's Mints, for the $100 dono, saying, buy yourself a nice meal. Buy yourself a nice meal, Italian hands. Italian hands. Thank you. Thank you so very much. I really, really, really appreciate it. Y'all. Number go up. Brr. I gotta flex now. Do we want shirt on or off? Do we want tank top? Because the tank top thing is, I kind of like the tank top. Yes. Oh, we want it. All right. We want it off. I'm not taking my bra off. Sorry, y'all. That's not what's happening. I've been meaning to donate for a while. Just been busy, I guess. Oh, that's too bad. Man, I am bigger than I was the last time I did this. Dang, I didn't realize how much bigger I'd gotten. Ooh, that's nice. Damn. Like, my triceps are still, I'm still working on my triceps. Like, that's not, they're definitely thicker than they were, though. That's the thing. Like, damn, like, I'm so much bigger than I was. I ate 5 dozen eggs to get large. And this, for Mama Mephistopheles, because I know that you always like me to flex my back. I can't figure out how to, like... It's like I don't really know what I look like from the back. So I'm just trying to, like, figure it out, you know? I am bigger than I was the last time I flexed for you. Man. Hell yeah, dude. You're rocking those guns. The guns! I don't... Oh, yeah, my forearms are getting pretty big, too. That's nice. I'm glad that we got to do it. I'm like, damn, I feel so good. Ooh. And the abs are probably starting to happen a little bit more. Like, I'm actually doing ab workouts specifically. Tummy Tuesday. You gotta appreciate the tub and the muscles. Yes. Thank you for your donations, everybody. Soft tummy also hot. True. Tummy, 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 tummy. I've discovered that swimming is awesome, too. I know. I like my tummy. Why do I have weird spots on my tummy right now. It's from, I think it's like a little bit of a heat rash. I have a tiny bit of a heat rash. I have a cool idea, y'all. I really would like to get some kind of tattoo, like, on the underboob area. Like, the side boob, underboob area. I think that would be really cool tattoos to have, like, here. But a lot of the time when people have, like, a side boob tattoo, they also, like, have a thing here. And I'm like, I really don't want a tattoo on my belly. Oh, I know the rib cage is painful. I know that. It's like, I mean, look at this. I got a tattoo right next to my collarbone. That hurt like a bitch. I got a tattoo on my wrist right there. I got this tattoo right here. This part hurt a lot. I'm wondering if I can have a belly button ring if belly fat. So, I mean, here's how belly button rings work. Let me take you up with me. So belly button rings, it's like they pierce through this bit of skin here, and there's no fat there. Like it's like a tag of skin. So that's like, I think that you can still get them even if you are a big person. I'm thinking of getting my first professional tattoo, and I'm anxious about the pain. I mean, I'm not gonna lie to you, Corpse Candy. It doesn't, like, feel good. But here's what I'll say. I think that it's a good thing to get tattoos. Like, if you're going to a clean, professional place, you know, that they use fresh ingredients, fresh ingredients every time. Yeah, so I will say, as long as you eat beforehand, you drink plenty of water beforehand, I would say your first tattoo should be in a location that is not going to be one of those, like, everybody knows this sucks to get a tattoo here. Like, first tattoo, I would not say get it on your ribs, you know? My first tattoo is over here on my shoulder, and my logic on that was, like, you know, if I have acne, and I used to have acne kind of more around my body, but, like, when I used to have acne on my shoulders, it didn't hurt as much to, like, pop my pimples there. So that was my like, idea, was I'm gonna get my first tattoo in a location where it doesn't hurt as much. And it still fucking hurts. I mean, it's, like, not pleasant. Mine was a little spicy, the part close to the wrist. Right, yeah. So, like, the parts where your skin is quite thin and there's, like, bone or something immediately underneath it, those are the painful tattoos. Like, this was a painful tattoo. Like, at the time that I did this, I think it was the most painful thing I had ever experienced. Like, at the time, just because it sucked. After 2.5 hours, it was awful. Yeah, and I've never had, like, a long tattoo. I think the longest I've ever sat for a tattoo was this one, and I sat for, like, an hour. It was not a very long tattoo. What is this YouTube video? The Eggs Man
Recently,
of Twitter. Oh,
I
no,
saw
we
a
have Big
tweet
Joel.
that disturbed
Oh, no,
and
what is Big
excited
Joel?
me.
Uh-oh.
It reads
We're doing
nearly
memes? We're doing
$43
memes now?
for a week's worth of food.
Hold on, I didn't have my earbud on. I'm sorry, everybody. Where are my links? Okay, here we go.
Recently, I saw a tweet that disturbed and excited me. It reads, nearly $43 for a week's worth of food. Hashtag Bidenomics is ruining America. A normal tweet for a Republican guy, it may seem, but one only has to look at his grocery store haul to feel there's something deeply amiss here. What cost $43, you might ask? A pound of cheese, 3 pounds of sour cream, a rotisserie chicken, and 6 dozen eggs. That is a week's worth of food. Some part of me had trouble believing the words of this tweet as
piano
written.
here.
Surely he's buying this many eggs for a massive family or a special occasion. Surely he doesn't mean this is food for a week for him and him alone. Surely he buys other things at other places. Somebody replied to the man, "You eat 17 eggs and 7 ounces of sour cream a day?" And he said, quote, "Often, yes, and more. Many pics of what I eat posted on wall. 20 eggs, often my dinner." With this simple tweet, we learn 2 things. First, yes, these eggs are for him. This is a week's worth of his food. Second, there are pictures. Immediately, I began scrolling. What if he was joking? What if there were no pictures? What if it was all an elaborate hoax? I needed to know. I needed to see for myself. And what I found haunts me to this day. 3 pictures. 20 eggs dinner. Dinner. 20 eggs with hot tomatoes. Yes. Yes. He is the big egg. Buried in the replies to one of these images, a man writes, "I am boiling mine," with an accompanying image. Someone else responds, "Love boiled eggs. Very blue collar."
Thanks. Thanks, Henry. Like, oh my god, dude. I love those. I really do enjoy when you guys send me something that by the end of it, I'm just staring at it like what? Like, what? Oh no. These people watched Beauty and the Beast and thought Gaston was the good guy. True. Oh man. It's like, do you remember that one video? We watched like a trailer for like a man camp or something, and at one point the guy was drinking like just straight fucking egg, like out of a glass and everything. How to basics cleanup guy. Yeah, that was insane. That was insane to me. What were we even doing before this? We were talking about tattoos. Okay, when you're lifting weights, what are the rules for building muscle? Like, I heard something like 12 reps at 60%, I think, for one exercise. Is there a general rule or does it vary? So, mama, if you are trying to build big, sexy-looking muscles, your goal is to, like, build muscles, not to, like, be strong or stamina. Like, if your goal is aesthetics, you want to... I don't really do this exactly because I don't ever do my maximums. I don't have a partner in the gym, so I don't ever know what my 100% is. So like 100% is like, this is, you can lift this once and that's your maximum. You can't do it again. Like, so you're supposed to find for hypertrophic muscle building, for big muscle building, 60 to 80% of your max. So 60 to 80%, and then 12 reps with three sets of 12 reps with 30 to 90 seconds between sets. So you have a shorter recovery time. And yeah, so basically how I operate when I'm like, cause I don't ever do the strictly the 60 to 80% bullshit. What I do is I pick a number, like I do it every week and I go based on like, my goal is it should be difficult by the time I'm done. So like at the end of each set, if it's a little bit difficult, that's ideal. By the end of the third set, if I'm like kind of struggling to finish, then like that's kind of where I want to be on it. Vicon, thank you so much for the $25 dono. By the way, I am assuming that your name is a play on Rickon Stark. That's what I've been going. It says Vicon little something. Thank you so much for that $25 dono. We'll give you an extra one. More guns! More guns! I just like that I can see this muscle starting to happen now. Like this one. This one right here. This is a good one to have. I like that one. Yeah, that's good. That's the lats. Boom. Delicious. I wrote it down so if I hurt myself, it's officially your fault, JK. Yeah, always be cautious. Yes. Okay, well, it's correct. Rickon Stark. Is there a particular Rickon that you're named after? Is it the one who zigzags? Or should have zigged? The one who zigged but did not zag? More guns. Great, I could use some polygons and a higher frame rate. Truly amazing. Yeah. I'm so amped to get a new tattoo. I think, like, that might be my sort of Christmas present to myself or something. I don't know. I just feel like I've been wanting one for long enough, and I've been restricting myself enough this year. I'm like, I'm not drinking alcohol. I'm not really buying stupid bullshit that I want. So, I missed when Prometheus Rickon was the height of GOT stupidity. Oh, man. Season 6 was fucking rough. It was already rough back in Season 6, and it just only got more rough. Oh, man. Oh, no. From the books, he is not necessarily dead in the books. Okay, sure, fair enough, yes. I just meant, I didn't, yeah, I meant, like, you know, there was also Rickon Stark, who was, yeah, that was the name of their father, right? Ned's father was called Rickon. So, you know, you could have gone for something else along those lines. Man, Game of Thrones, what a bummer. Oh, I'm so bummed out, y'all, because for a bit, I was like, okay, maybe they won't continue filming House of the Dragon because of the WAG strike, or the WGA strike. And then the Screen Actors Guild started striking, and I was like, okay, good, that means that production is definitely going to be shut down. However, apparently, all of the actors in House of the Dragon are under the British Actors Union, and they're not legally allowed to strike in solidarity with other unions in the UK. Like, apparently. So, yeah, like, I'm really bummed out because I think that Season 2 of House of the Dragon is gonna suck. Yeah, exactly, Brutus. Oh my god, true. I'm so glad the series ended after Season 6. You know, gosh, I can only imagine how much of a mess it would have been if they had continued. SAG-AFTRA, GOW. Strikes should be illegal, actually, because the whole point is to fuck up the system. I mean, yeah, like, why aren't they illegal? I think because they understand that a strike is the alternative to, like, murdering bosses in their beds and stealing all their shit. If the police approve, you are probably doing it wrong. Right. The Witcher may also be being cut short. I mean, The Witcher was doomed, I think, the moment that they boxed out Henry Cavill's vision on it. You know, like, Henry was involved and, like, wanted it to be done a particular way, and so he was on board in the first place because, like, of the idea that he was gonna have the ability to bring it true to the books, you know? And, like, he stepped away from the project because they wanted to take it a direction that he felt wasn't true to the characters and wasn't true to the original story. True to the games more, I think. Okay, yeah, the books or the games, whichever direction. Because Henry Cavill is a big fucking nerd. But he was the draw to that show. You know, him being all grimy and sexy, you know? Legal strikes are a recognition of power by the government up to that point. If the government doesn't recognize the power beyond what they allow, it means there's more work to be done. Rickon, because I am the youngest of 6 siblings and I have a shaggy dog. Oh, okay, that makes perfect sense. I like it. Not gonna lie, Henry Cavill was the only reason I was really interested. He's the reason that I watched it, and then I thought that the way that they delivered the first season was stupid. Like, I'll spoil it for you, I guess, if you haven't seen it. So just like, quick pause, step away. Spoilers for The Witcher at the end of the first season. But, like, you find out at the end of the season that these events that you've been switching back and forth between, it's like they weren't happening concurrently. You were witnessing, like, events from 10 or 20 years ago spliced in with events that are currently happening. And at the end of the season, when that was revealed, I was like, wow, that's fucking stupid. And I was not into it. So I did watch it twice. I went back and watched it a second time, and I was like, yeah, this isn't good. I think the other reason why I wasn't that into The Witcher was that y'all on Twitter made it seem way fucking gayer than it was. I was expecting this show to be homosexual, and then I watched it, and it was like, let's shoehorn in some heterosexuality at every possible... I was like, this is awkward. I was like, this heterosexual romance is very forced to me. Just wasn't a... Henry Cavill is on my list of reasons why I'm bisexual. Fair enough. I don't know who Henry is, but he looks hot like no cap. He was Superman, but mostly he was The Witcher. That's kind of his deal. I feel like it might be lunchtime soon. The Witcher show was desperate for more gay. It needed more gay! The time twist was better done in Jigsaw than The Witcher? I don't think I saw Jigsaw. Is that a Jigsaw? Is that a Saw movie that's like about... It's like a prequel? Is that what Jigsaw is? I don't know. I've seen like the first 4 Saw movies, I think, and then you listen. I just want to display my skills right now because I saw Jigsaw, and I was like, I just guessed based on the name of the film that it was a prequel for the Saw movies. I know things. I've had The Witcher 3 sitting in my library for months, still waiting for the right time. I hear great things about The Witcher 3 specifically. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but Witcher 3 is the game that everybody's like, this is the one that's so good. Everybody likes this one. Yeah, see, Witcher 3 is incredible. I haven't played any video games in like 2 weeks. I actually plugged in my Switch because I put it in my case to take it to my partner's house. And then I just haven't played it in 2 weeks. My Switch was like, the battery was basically dead because it was unplugged for 2 weeks. So now that it's charged, I'll be able to play Tears of the Kingdom again. It was like Saw 8. Spoilers, it was both a prequel and a sequel. It spliced in bits of recent time and an old Saw killing, but didn't reveal it was earlier until the end when a guy comes across the skeletons of those people. Yeah, that kind of makes sense to me. Witcher 3 DLC alone is basically its own 40-hour game. People really love that game. It's really good. Yeah. I'm not watching the Netflix Witcher because they really destroyed the lore, and I'm a gamer. I've not read the books, but it did bother me. Triss is supposed to be a romantic interest for Geralt. I cannot remember if they actually did that or not. I know that he had a sex scene with someone, and I was like, I hate this. Did not enjoy. These fucking completely devoid of chemistry heterosexual people. Sucked. Man, this fucking Big Joel video, I lost it for a second there. Just so everybody knows, before, you know, as we start winding down, I'm over on Blue Sky for the most part. So, you know, if you are finding that I'm not posting on Twitter very much, it's because I'm not really over there anymore. What's going on with your back in terms of the bra itself? I mean, it just has, like, extra weird straps. I don't really know what to tell you. Like, these ones are really loose because it's been washed so many times. It's supposed to be, like, double supportive or something, but I don't know. It's like an old Target bra that I've had for, like, 15 years or some shit like that. No, I'm never ever gonna call it X. It's Twitter. Yeah. We got Blue Sky. Blue Sky is where it's at. I see people posting over there. I follow a good number of people, so it keeps things spicy. We will respect Twitter's name change when Elon does the same for his daughter. I can't make any promises for myself. Quarbarian has an extra Blue Sky invite in the YouTube chat over there, if anybody is interested. I don't have one right now. I've had 2 recently, and I gave them both away. What about Green Sea? I don't know. I am a mystery. Yeah, I literally rarely even open Twitter at this point. And I come over here and I scroll for a few minutes and I'm like, this sucks. Anyway, we don't like Twitter anymore. It sucks. I'm over here on Blue Sky. Yes. Join us. The Cyberpunk universe and Witcher universe are connected. Do you mean like Cyberpunk 2077? Like... Are they connected in the same way that, like, the universe of The Sopranos is connected to the Gilmore Girls? TikTok still has a bunch of conservatives on it, too. Just kind of makes me feel like I don't belong or I'm too old for it anyways. Not sure what the demographic is. I'm not on TikTok. I don't do TikTok. I don't want constant video input. I'm still on Twitter posting nudes and arguing with chuds. I'm hoping the site survives long enough until Elon gets bored and sells it for a pittance. You know, I haven't deleted my Twitter. You know, I'll keep it. I haven't like deleted my handle or deleted any of my info on there. I'll probably just like, I just don't want to add value to it, you know? I feel like every time I post there, I'm like, you know, and this has been true the entire time, but you are providing the value for the website. Like, the point of being on the website is to see people and talk to people and whatever. And so when I post, I'm creating incentive for people to use the product. And I guess I just don't want to contribute anymore is part of it. So I post on Blue Sky. I think before too long, I'm going to have to actually get a proper ring light so that I can take sexy pictures, because I want to do that more. Honestly, that was part of what I was thinking when I was saying toward the beginning of the stream today of, like, the direction of my content. Like, frankly, if I could do, like, gaming content and no thoughts, head empty, like, lifestyle posting and, like, just talking about stuff that we enjoy together and, like, showing you the crochet stuff and making, like, and, like, taking sexy pictures of my hot body, that would be awesome. I made a tiny mushroom. It's like, you can't really see the colors on it very well because of how my photography lights blow it out, but it's a little tiny mushroom. And I finally finished this one. It kind of looks like garbage, but that's okay. I have a tiny trans mushroom as well. Mushrooms and mushrooms. I'm not using any current passwords I use on Twitter for security reasons. Yeah. You know, my Twitter password is its own unique thing at this point. Woo! I'm just gonna drop stuff. Adorable tiny mushrooms. This is what I want to do with my life and my time. I want to be a fucking bimbo. I'd buy a tiny trans mushroom. So what I am planning on doing, y'all, is I need to create some backups so that I can start doing this. I'm gonna start doing a raffle thing on my Patreon. So, starting, like, probably next month, because I need to make some more. It's gonna be stuff that's, like, this size, maybe. Not, like, a teeny tiny thing like this, probably. I'll post, like, you know, a mushroom or, like, some other random bullshit that I've made and, like, raffle it off for the $5 tier and have, like, one object each month that I raffle off. But that's kind of like my general plan for... I don't really want to sell my crochet stuff. I don't want to deal with sales tax or any of that stuff. So I will do the raffle thing, and that'll make it to where, you know, it's just... I don't have to deal with the sales tax aspect of it mainly. Too smart to bimbo, too dumb to smart. Rip in pieces. No head. Thoughts empty. That's a sad life, though. With no head. You gotta have some head sometimes, you know? Smuggy chat. Good grief. Well, y'all, I feel like, yeah, I want to go ahead and do lunch now, and I may or may not have to drive all the way to drop off something that my sister left here yesterday, so that's kind of a huge pain in the fucking ass. And, like, I might go chill with my partner tonight, so I think I'm gonna go run and eat and take care of my body, and I want you to do the same thing. Take care of yourselves. Do something nice for yourself today. And I will see you all on Tuesday. I'm gonna commit this time to seeing you all on Tuesday. I'm not gonna let any bullshit get in the way. It's happening this week, okay? Be good, or at least don't get caught.